Um, I've got another story for you now. And I've realised it's actually incredibly similar. Sorry about that. It starts with an old woman. We don't have a young daughter this time. We just have an old woman. And she was the kind of old woman who she counted her pennies, you know. I had a friend once when I was at uni. He was a bit of a character. He used to go into Waitrose and he used to get the tins and he used to bash them together until they were dented. And then he would go and say, you know, you really ought to reduce this. So this old lady was a bit like that. She was always on the lookout for a bargain. She would be like that golden moment. It's about 5 o'clock at Marks and Spencer's when they put the yellow stickers on. I have another friend who hangs around Marks and Spencer's to get the posh food yellow stickered. And then he says, come round to dinner. And it's 2 days later. And it's like, this stuff, is it safe? Because it's like the date on it is like 2 days ago. I've never died yet. Yeah, so this old lady was a bit like them. And she would take her metaphorical shopping trolley. We're probably before the days of shopping trolleys. She probably had a rush basket. She would take her metaphorical shopping trolley to the market and get the bargains, the things that people were selling off. So potatoes that it's a bit damaged, you know, or kind of wilted heads of lettuce, or well, you know, sheep's heads that they've got an eye missing or something. And on this occasion, she had come back with three kippers that nobody else wanted. One of them was kind of short and a bit twisted. One of them was quite long, but quite thin and very bony. And one of them was big and fat, but it only had one eye. Looked a bit off. And she brought those kippers back to her house, and very carefully she locked the door behind her. She shuttered all the windows, and she took the kippers into her kitchen, meaning to have them for her tea. We're in olden days, so she has a fire to cook her kippers on, a little griddle that she puts them on over the fire. And she sits there thinking about brown bread and butter and possibly some vinegar and kippers, grilled kippers for tea. Now, because you have an old lady who goes out and doesn't spend much money, people got talking and saying, maybe she's got lots of money because she doesn't spend it. So she must obviously have lots of it at home. And the rumours went round that she had whole pots of gold in her house. Of course she didn't have pots of gold. She was a poor old lady. She was counting the pennies because she didn't have many pennies, but people thought she was counting the pennies because she was saving them all back at home, and there were pots of silver and gold to be had if anybody could break into her house, even though it was locked and barred and bolted. And there was a gang of thieves. Oh, of course there was a gang of thieves. Can I hear you boo? No, you're all muted. You can boo in your own time and pleasure. Yeah? Yes, lovely. So there was a gang of wicked thieves who decided to break into that old lady's house and steal her pots of gold. But they knew they couldn't get in through her front door because it was locked and barred and bolted. They knew they couldn't get in through the windows because she put the shutters up on the inside, and they were the ones with the big bolts, and then the thing that goes in a really satisfying way and holds everything firm. So they decided the only way was to climb up the roof and come down the chimney. So when you are the robber chief, the big, fat, one-eyed robber chief with a sash and a cutlass between your teeth, you don't do that kind of job yourself, yeah? You send the smallest, trixiest member of your gang of thieves to climb up the roof and come down. You don't want the biggest, fattest one trying to get down the chimney, obviously, and it's not good for your dignity as robber chief. So they sent the smallest, slightly twisted little robber. They gave him a bunk up onto the thatched roof. They sent him up to go down the chimney, and there he was, coming down feet first, trying not to get soot coming down and advertising his progress. And as he was coming down the chimney. The old lady was putting the first kipper onto the griddle. "Oh, you're little and twisted. Oh, and you're the first of them. Oh, and I'm looking forward to you. And I'm going to eat you up, bones and all, with bread and butter and vinegar." And the robber thought, "That's me. She knows I'm little and twisted. She knows I'm the first one. She knows that there are others. She's a witch. She knows I'm coming. She's probably got a pot of water down there like the big bad wolf in the Three Little Pigs. I'm getting out of here." And he scrambled up the chimney, not worrying about the soot, and he fled, covered in black, all the way down that. He slid down that roof, and he got back to the robbers. "She's a witch. She knew I was coming. She knew I was the first. She knew I was little and twisted." And of course, the robber chief thought, "Oh, you can't get the staff these days." And he sent his henchman. He sent his second in command. He sent the tall, thin, skinny, lanky one. And by this time, the old lady had polished off the first kipper, and she was grilling the second, the tall, skinny, thin, bony one. And as that second robber was coming down the chimney, she was talking to herself. You get talking to yourself when you get older, when you've got no one to talk to. Yeah, I swear at my computer sometimes just for something to do. Anyway, yeah, so she was talking to the kipper. "Oh, you're the second one. Oh, and you're long and thin and bony, and there's not much flesh on you. But I'll have you. I'll eat you up, bones and all." And the second robber was thinking, "She knows it's me. She knows I'm thin and skinny. She knows that she knows too much. She's a witch." And he clambered out of the chimney, slid down the thatch, and he went and reported to the robber chief, who said, "If you want doing something, you got to do it yourself." And they had to really give him a button cut, because he'd always had first dibs on the food, you see, so he was quite big. And he was pushed up onto the thatch, and he clambered up, and he lowered himself down the chimney. And as he was going up, "Oh, and you're the third. Oh, you're the biggest, and you're the fattest, and I've saved you till last. And I don't mind that you've only got one eye, because I'm going to eat you up, bones and all." And he thought, "It's true. It's so true." He couldn't get out of there fast enough. And from that day on, the robbers left the old lady alone, and she was free to enjoy her cut price kippers, her knockoff rack of lamb, the blade of beef that had passed its sell-by date in Sainsbury's. She could take them home and enjoy them in exquisite peace, as I hope you enjoy your Ocado deliveries. Okay, thank you very much.